beginning of the DASNY Audit Committee meeting. We have as members our Audit Committee Chair, Joan Sullivan in Albany. Beryl Snyder is here in New York City. And then the chair has designated Christina Coughlin as a third member of the Audit Committee, who is also in the Albany office. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Right. Well, I want to, first of all, officially welcome Christina. We're happy to have her on board. You've got a tough shoes to fill with Al's departure, but you'll do a great job. Thank you. Let's start with behind tab 2, the minutes of the last audit committee meeting. Does anyone have any comments or changes to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve? Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. Great. So the essence of the meeting is to focus on KPMG this morning. And I want to turn over, I want to turn it over to KPMG, actually. No, excuse me, I'm going to turn over to Kim. So she's going to introduce KPMG. Let's do it in order. Please, Kim.
Thank you, Joe. Before we move into the details, I'll begin with a brief summary of this year's audit results. KPMG does expect to issue 3 unmodified opinions on DASNY's financials, the supplementary information included with the financials, and DASNY's compliance with the state controller's investment policy and guidelines, and DASNY's investment policy and guidelines. KPMG did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in our internal control. Therefore, they won't be issuing a management letter. Unless there's any questions, I'll now turn it over to KPMG to go through their required communications.
Kim, and good morning, everybody. Those who don't know, my name is Jeff Koch. I am the managing director with KPMG, and I oversaw the entire engagement. And to my right here, I'm joined by Jake Day, who was our KPMG manager, who worked with our team in the field as we performed the audit. We will be bringing up the slide deck here momentarily, but as Kim alluded to, the first slide we typically have is just our overview slide and some of our typical communications. At this point, there are no real significant outstanding matters. Upon completion here, we'll be getting management rep letters and be ready to issue those financial statements. As it pertains to our financial statement audit report, we expect to issue an unmodified opinion. That's the highest rated opinion you can get. That's considered a clean opinion. That means the financials are presented materially in all material respects in accordance with the appropriate guidelines. We did have one uncorrected misstatement that Jake will talk a little bit about in a few minutes here related to management's non-GAAP policy for accruing payables subsequent to year end. This is consistent with prior years. It's just due to the timing of having to close the books at a point in time. Management continues to track that information and provide us the updates, and we kind of review and agree with that. It is not material to the financial statements, and that's why it is an uncorrected financial statements. That still gets us to the clean overall audit opinion performed by management. We'll also be issuing what's called an in relation to opinion related to DASNY supplemental schedules in accordance with AUC 725. And that just says that information presented is consistent basically with the financial statements. There's no material deviations, etc. For the investment compliance report, we will be issuing an unmodified opinion there. We performed the procedures in compliance with section 201.3 of Title II of the official compilation of code, rules, and regulations of the state of New York, and did not find any issues or non-compliance matters identified through that. And as we alluded to, there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified in the audit. Moving on to the next slide is just a presentation of our KPMG team. This is more so for information. This has not changed from when we presented the slide decks back at the last audit committee associated to that. Just want to make it there. We have also identified on here the team members that are part of our MWBE partners. If we can move on to the next slide, that's where we talk about that participation. We utilize the assistance of 2 firms. We use Team Avaloria, which is an MBE partner, and we use Long Island Financial Management Services, which is a WBE firm. Those team members are integrated as part of our overall engagement team. We provide training to them and making sure they have the right relevant and experience as we bring them onboarded from a team. We also have them participate in the audit, and this year it was about 40% of the overall total audit effort that these team members provided. And they touched areas such as your cash, debt, investments, loans receivables, and other areas here that are alluded to. And they are a significant part of the work that we perform on the audit for DASNY. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake, who will take us through the required communication section.
So I'll take us all through the required communication slides. So these are really just the high points of our audit, those items that we're required to communicate to you. This next slide, this is just a brief overview of the slides that I'll take you through here. We can move on to the next one. Getting into our audit results and required communications, nothing unusual came up through the course of this year's audit. No illegal acts or suspected fraud came up. Very much business as usual as it pertains to this year's audit. In terms of independence, we do confirm that as of today, independence with DASNY in accordance with professional standards. And in terms of the involvement of DASNY's internal audit department, we do involve them each year for various areas of our testing, including financing income and investment compliance, among others listed on the screen there. So we're always very grateful to have their assistance. They're always a huge help on our audit. Moving now into the auditor's report, as Jeff mentioned, we do expect to issue an unmodified opinion today, which, as he said, is the highest opinion that we can offer. And we will be including another matter paragraph related to that required supplementary information. Most of you are probably very familiar with the deliverables we provide, and Jeff already touched on them, but those will be the report on the basic financial statements, the report on internal control, as well as the report on investment compliance. And then looking to the future, we will be continuing over the next few weeks here to finalize and issue those remaining 6 individual financial statements. Moving down to the uncorrected audit misstatements, Jeff already touched on this. This is related to DASNY's longstanding policy on the accrual of payables subsequent to year end. That misstatement this year was about $38 million. So again, as Jeff mentioned, very much not material to the financial statements, but it does rise above that threshold where we're required to report it to you as the board. Moving on now to our significant accounting policies and practices. We didn't identify any transactions through the course of our audit that appeared to be lacking in substance or appeared to not be in line with the relevant accounting standards. We did identify one significant audit risk for DASNY, which is one that we identify for all entities that we audit, and that is the risk of management override of controls, simply related to the nature of management's position as the ones preparing the financial statements and financial information. They're in a position to be able to manipulate those or perpetuate fraud if they were to choose to do so. Again, reiterate that it's not a DASNY specific thing. It's simply related to the nature of the position they're in. In order to address that risk, we do perform a number of procedures, including the examination of manual journal entries and the assessment of significant accounting estimates to ensure that there's no indications of management bias, and appear that those all appear to be reasonably stated.
Jake, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to make sure to hear you.
Absolutely. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So as I just mentioned, we do assess significant accounting estimates as part of our audit. We did identify 2 during this year's audit, those being the OPEB liability as well as the valuation of investments. For the OPEB liability, we do engage our own internal KPMG actuarial specialist to assess the key inputs and assumptions to that liability and ensure that that is kind of in line with our expectations and what we would expect to be seeing from an actuarial perspective. For the valuation of investments, similarly, we do engage our centralized pricing desk to come up with our own independent expectation of what we would expect to see for evaluation of DASNY's investment portfolio and compare that to what DASNY reports in the financial statements and ensure that those are reasonably in line. In both cases, in the case of both accounting estimates, we did not identify any misstatements or any indicators of management bias there. Moving now into our significant financial statement disclosures, we do have one identified, and that's Note 7D related to conduit debt. In addition to our third-party confirmation procedures that we perform over the state debt, we do also perform confirmation procedures over the conduit debt. Nothing came up out of those confirmation procedures that was unexpected. Everything appeared to be materially correctly. We do also assess the presentation of that conduit debt in the footnote, and everything appeared to be reasonably stated there. Moving now into the other information, so that's management's discussion and analysis, as well as the required supplementary information. As these aren't part of the core financial statements and footnotes, they're not subjected to the same level of audit procedures that the core financial statements and footnotes would be. But we do perform a limited set of procedures in both cases over the financial information presented in each of these, just to ensure that they're materially consistent with the audited financial information, and there's nothing, say contradictory or that doesn't appear to be consistent with what we've audited. Next, we've got up on the screen, we have our required inquiries. We've gone through these with a handful of you, but I will just leave these up for a minute for your review, and it's in the materials that I believe were already distributed. If there's anything coming out of these questions that you'd like to raise to us, please feel free to do so. You can do that now, or we are, of course, always available to be reached separately if you'd be more comfortable doing it that way. If there's nothing there, move to the next slide, which is just to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions at this point, please feel free to ask them.
Does anyone have any questions for Jake?
I don't. I think it's very clear and straightforward, and thank you.
So, motion?
Not yet. Are you going through any of the appendices or?
No,
Okay.
I will just say that there are some appendices in the back. Those are more so
Yes.
for information. I think we've shared some of those before. There's some information about, I believe there's one in there about the board, what's on board agendas for 2026. That you keep in mind, that's for any of our clients of things to consider. So some are public companies compared to privates, but just some information that we kind of shared for your knowledge.
Thank you, Jeff. And I'll just, turning back to the financial statements, I'd like to review some of the more significant items that were included in this year's financial statements and provide highlights of DASNY's financial results for the year. Beginning with the executive summary on pages 5 and 6, highlights for our lines of business included a strong year for our debt issuance activities, issuing approximately $11 billion in debt comprised of $6 billion on behalf of state institutions and $5 billion in conduit debt borrowings. On the construction management side, we reached substantial completion on the FIT academic building and SUNY New Paltz's Mohawk Hall renovation, both delivered in 2025, and continued work on several major projects, including Western New York Psychiatric Center, the New York State Life Sciences Public Health Laboratory, the Mid-Hudson Forensic Replacement Hospital, and the SUNY Binghamton Residence Hall. We also awarded a $40 million design build contract for SUNY Cortland's new 200-bed residence hall. From an accounting standpoint, we adopted GASB Statement Number 105, Subsequent Events. This statement establishes uniform standards of evaluation and disclosure of subsequent events, defining the evaluation period from the balance sheet date through the date the financial statements are available to be issued. There was no impact on the financial statements, and additional disclosures were made within the notes to the financial statements. Turning to our financial results, overall, the financial statements reflect a decrease in our net position of approximately $70 million, the majority of which is in our restricted funds. DASNY's operations showed a surplus of $3.5 million, which reflects a surplus of $1.7 million on the public side and a $1.8 million surplus on the private institution side, primarily due to a $1.5 million surplus for financing and bond administration and a credit or reduced allocation of OPEB expense due to amortization of prior improvements in the discount rates. In terms of debt issuances, as discussed on pages 7 through 9, we issued approximately $6 billion in debt on behalf of state institutions. Almost all, or 92%, came from new money and refundings. In terms of distribution, as shown in the charts, more than 2/3 of issuances, or 68%, was on behalf of New York State agencies. On pages 10 through 12, you see we had $2.6 billion in bond retirements for the year. Approximately 13% came from defeasances and early redemptions, and 60% from bonds that were funded by new DASNY bonds. Majority of defeasances and early redemptions were as a result of prepayments provided by the state at the end of 2025. Moving to pages 13 through 14, we ended the year with 67 billion in outstanding bonds, an increase of 6.5 billion from 2025. The split between state institution and conduit bonds remained relatively stable at 59% and 41% respectively. In terms of our construction management line of business, on pages 15 through 17, our total construction and loan disbursements increased approximately 3.5 billion in 2026. Our certified disbursements saw an increase of 3.1 billion, primarily in New York State agencies. DASD managed project disbursements saw a 401 million increase, primarily related to New York State agencies and the CUNY program. Turning to page 19, DASNY's statement of net position decreased approximately 70 million in 2026 compared to 2025, primarily due to a decrease in restricted net position related to state prepayments. Increases of approximately 3 billion in assets and liabilities were largely driven by the net increase in bonds outstanding, the related loans receivable, and cash equivalents. Net investment in capital assets, as restated, decreased 1 million, primarily due to depreciation of capital assets and the amortization of right-to-use lease assets and subscription IT assets. On page 20, you can see the total investment balance of 8.5 billion reflects a decrease of approximately 307 million, primarily due to increased holdings in money market funds. Additionally, money market funds saw a 1.5 billion increase from the prior year, largely due to the receipt of monies from the state for the prepayment of debt service. DASNY's total investment portfolio has increased to approximately 10.4 billion. Also included within your materials, we have the supplementary information that is provided with the financials. Those include schedules that break out our financial statements by program type and DASNY operations, DASNY's budget and actual expenses for its operations, and a schedule of outstanding bonds and notes. We are required to submit the auditor's report and basic financial statements to the Office of State Comptroller. During today's board meeting, there will be a resolution for the board to approve adoption of the basic financial statements as of and for the year ended March 31, 2026. Before I conclude, I would like to take a moment to thank the people that made the receipt of these results possible. In addition to the tight deadlines related to the audit, staff have been working hard to get acclimated with the new financial statement system that went live on April 1st. In particular, I'd like to thank Diana Topple, who is here to my right, Assistant Director of Accounting, who along with her team oversees the entire audit process, coordinating with various parties to ensure we stay on target. Throughout the audit, in addition to her team, she has the support of Steve Winters-Bona, who's the Assistant Director in the Debt Unit, Stanley Reed, Director of Treasury Management Services, Jeff Arnold, the Director of Budget and Operations, Kelly Ray, the Assistant Director of Accounts Payable, Tanette Tomlin, our Senior Financial Analyst in the Debt Unit, and Chad Pirro, the Director of Financial Administration, and many others on their respective teams. Without their dedication and oversight of these teams, today's audit results would not be possible. I also like to thank Gia Wu from our internal audit team, and also KPMG, Team Avaloria, and Long Island Financial Management for their professionalism and support. Is there any questions on the financial statements?
Any questions on the financial statements? I just have to say, this is always amazes me how quickly you get this done, how glowing the report traditionally has been, and it really is a tribute to the staff and the organization. It's very impressive. Thank you. Thank you all for all the hard work. What I'd like to do is get a motion from the audit committee to recommend to the full board, the approval of the financial statements. May I have a motion? Motion? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Does anyone else have any other remarks or comments? Okay. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna move on. Bear with me. Want to turn over this next segment to Kim to talk about the annual investment report.
Thank you,
You're
Joan.
welcome.
The next report is the annual investment report, which DASNY is also required to file with the Office of the State Comptroller. The report includes our investment policy and guidelines and summary of investment income earned and fees paid for the year. A copy of DASNY's financial statements will also be filed with the report. There were no changes to our investment guidelines during the year. And investment income totaled $397.3 million for the year, $17.4 million of which was earned from construction funds, with the remaining $379.9 million from all other funds. An additional $88.3 million was earned on the investment of conduit debt-related bond and note issue proceeds, along with the reinvestment of existing funds related to conduit debt, which is not reported in the basic financial statements. During 2026, DASNY paid approximately $1 million for trustee and custodial services. Also included in your materials, and for the record, in accordance with DASNY's investment policy and guidelines, your materials include the list of financial institutions DASNY is authorized to make investments with, the list of institutions with which we made investments during the year, and the list of institutions authorized to serve as trustee and custodians, including any considered for new business during the year. No board actions required on that particular report.
Okay, does anyone have any questions with regard to the annual investment report? If not, could I have a motion to recommend to the full board acceptance of the annual investment report for the year ended March 31st, 2026? Motion? Second?
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you so much. And last on our agenda here is a review of the Public Authorities Accountability Act annual report, and I'm going to turn that over to Robert. Robert?
Great. Thank you, Joan. Yes, we'll be presenting for your consideration and approval our annual Authorities Budget Office report for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. In that report, we outlined DASNY's main business lines, which are public finance, construction services, and grants administration. And the ABO report serves as the backbone of what will be DASNY's 2026 annual report, which we will be providing to members later on this year. And in the report, you will see that we have completed 21 bond financings this past year, valued at approximately $10.9 billion. And we've delivered approximately $7.4 billion in bonds for public clients and programs, which include our school districts, our BOCES, including our sales, and separately our sales tax and personal income tax revenue bond programs on behalf of the state. DASNY has also delivered $3.4 billion for our independent private sector clients, both healthcare and higher ed, and 4 TELP leasing transactions at $141 million. So, as was mentioned a little bit earlier, DASNY's outstanding bond portfolio is approximately $66 billion, and the construction portfolio includes 911 full-service projects that total $7.83 billion. Included in that is 249 full-service projects that are valued at greater than $5 million. And DASNY completed 62 construction projects that are valued at approximately $619 million. We're always proud of the work that we do with respect to our SUNY summer projects. We completed 8 of those projects valued at $79.7 million. A full list of all of these transactions are included in your materials. Also, DASNY initiated 103 new full-service construction projects that were valued at $591 million. And then we've also awarded original procurements totaling almost $795 million. So our third business line is our grants administration unit, and they have administered more than 25 different discretionary and competitive grant programs on behalf of the state. And this year, we completed more competitive program procurements than ever, with our grants to childcare, as well as the governor's Unplugged and Play initiative, consisting of our New York Swims program, our New York Bricks, and our New York Plays. I'm proud to report that DASNY completed all processing and reviews for 1,286 grants, totaling $889 million. And of these projects, 1,034 resulted in fully executed grant disbursement agreements valued at over $440 million, with a variety of grantees, including local governments, not-for-profit organizations, and other eligible entities. We continue with our efforts in terms of committing to diversity. And this is demonstrated not just by the appointment of a chief diversity officer to help coordinate our internal efforts and our external procurement activities, it's demonstrated in the numbers that we are able to report to the authority's budget office. Our expenditures, our MWBE expenditures totaled approximately $252 million, representing approximately 32.85% participation of total contract expenditures. And that is comprised of 22.16 for MBEs and 10.69 for WBEs. That concludes the overview of the authority's budget office report.
Thank you, Robert. Does anyone have any questions for Robert or comments about the report? Okay, if not, could I have a motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the Public Authorities Accountability Act annual report? May I have a motion? Christina, thank you. Second? Carol, thank you. Favor? Aye. Great. Okay, so thank you, Robert. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the financial history of a particular corporation and matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. May I have a motion, please? Christina? Second, Sarah? Aye. Thank you. So this executive session will include KPMG and board members only, please. Thank you. Is taken in the executive session other than to return to the session. I request a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting. We have a motion. Christina, Farrell, second. All in favor? Audit committee meeting is concluded. Thank you.